Well, hello there. This is Shiva, and I am continuing to have a good look at PinBuilder. As I mentioned yesterday, there was a pretty big update, and unfortunately, it kind of affected my computer. I have a 4K system. I get to use a 4K monitor here, and unfortunately, the update completely destroyed my frames per second. And with this game, plus the software that I used to record this video, it just was almost completely unplayable. I lost half of my frame rate, and I wasn't happy at showing the game at 35 frames per second in the first place. So what I've decided to do, I've let the developers know, and I've decided that I am going to knock down the settings. And what I came up with for display settings is the big difference was just to knock this down a little bit. Now I'm going to knock this down a little bit more here. I'm going to go into the very high settings here, especially for shadow, shader, and texture quality. In my attempts to try and get this program to be a little bit faster at 4K, I did find out a few very interesting things about how the settings can affect the game. And oddly enough, if you set your settings to these, they really don't seem to make much of a difference at high or lower settings. In fact, the frame rate, the FPS, maybe only changed maybe 1 or 2 frames per second. Even at absolute ultra, there was only really a difference of about 3 or 4 frames per second between the high and the ultra. So that's something that if you play around a little bit with, you can get some pretty decent results. If you notice here, I don't have anti-aliasing on. To be honest, it makes bad images look really bad if you set this up too high. VSync I have off now completely. My second monitor, which I have hooked up here, is a 300 megahertz 1080p monitor. So I was playing it on that for a while, and I just decided to leave it off. Same with the frame rate cap. I just reset it back to 244. And if you notice, no motion blur either. The reason why is I just don't like it. All right, it's as simple as that. It will greatly affect your performance if you have motion blur set to anything like on. Then yes, you will notice a pretty big difference in your performance. And honestly, it just doesn't look that great with pinball for some strange reason. As to these, well, let's just remove these. We're going to remove the intro logos, even though it doesn't have any effect. I should mention with these do not save. You need to set them every time. I'm pretty sure that's something that's going to be changed. As to this, I'm going to set the shadow to very high, texture to high, and shader to high, and then I'm going to show you one of the games here. And this is just from me messing around with this to try and get as much frames per second as I possibly can, while also understanding that I have other programs running in the background to record this video, like OBS. Steam is running in the background, and a couple of other smallish programs are also running. So I'm quite literally, I'm losing anywhere between 5 to 10 frames per second just because I have software in the background. If you set everything to the lowest possible settings, and then you play one of the games, you will notice that you'll get probably a maximum of 65. But with these settings, we're going to lose about 10 to 15 frames per second total, because I've got everything running in the background. And in case you're wondering, no, I do not have Windows Defender running. And yes, I've made sure that anti malware is in fact disabled too as well in the services. In case you didn't know, even if you switch Defender off, that program is still running, and it takes almost over half a gigabyte of your actual RAM memory, which, well, it's a Microsoft product. What do you expect? So anyway, let's get a game. I'm going to use this one here for two reasons. One is I actually kind of like this game. It's actually kind of a, you know, it's different for me, and it's kind of cool. And the other one is it doesn't actually have any problems with it. In terms, a couple of things did get a little wonky because of the new update. This program, this is the table that seems to have no problems whatsoever. It's a pretty cool table. Let's put this in interview, and as you can see, even with my stuff running in the background, I'm getting, well, you know, anywhere from 42 to 40, yeah, about 42. It's not great, to be honest, and this is 1080p, and I have a 2070 Super graphics card in here. This is a 12th generation iCore i7, 16 gigabytes of RAM. So, you know, you're kind of expecting a little bit better than this. So what I'm going to do is I am going to see how much I can suck off in here. Let's put everything on low and see if that makes a bit of a difference. Full screen windowed and everything else really doesn't seem to do all that much, but everything else is, well, oh, I got to turn this off again. Tooltips, intro logo. You know what, let's turn the scroll panel off too as well while we're at it. Let's turn off the editor. Let's just leave FPS on, and let's see how much we can get out of this one. And alien metal, let's have a look here. Yeah, oh, well, that's a lot better, isn't it? You know, you don't get the shadows. If you notice, there's really not that much difference other than the shadows. If you set the shadows to very high or ultra, you actually get shadows around the posts. But everything else, you know, yeah, it's okay. So let's put this in, hit a quick game. Actually, I think this is the first time I've actually shown the game playing. One of the things that I can tell you, you know, after being involved with pinball and with the community for 22 years, the higher the frame rate, the better. There's a definite drop-off, a definite improvement from frames that are below 40 compared to frames that are at 50. There's a definite improvement in the physics. This is sort of very, very borderline. It's about the best that I can do with the way that the program is at the moment, and of course with all of the overhead that I have here. I have sent messages to the developers about this and other issues that I have seen. So hopefully this will play a little bit better, because we're running about 10-15 frames per second faster than I was actually doing before. So let's have a look here. Okay, fire away. Is the anti-aliasing on the ball? It almost looks as if it was, wasn't it? But as you can see, yeah, that happens a bit too as well. If it's a weak shot, the ball just seems to bounce back. But don't worry about it. You know, it's a lot better than what future pinball can do, where it's even a heavy gate anyway. Okay, yeah, just let it count down. Out she comes again, and you can see that it's playable. All right, even with the resources going on in the background of my computer. I wouldn't recommend anything less than a 260, to be honest, from NVIDIA's point of view, to play this. If you have an older 1000 series, or even older than that, you're going to not be able to have a decent pinball playing experience. Even at this thing, when I was playing it at 65 frames per second, the physics were actually better. And as you can tell, this is a bit supercharged with the settings that they included with the game. Ouch. Wow, 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 I'm just getting absolutely smoked in this game. I think I better leave before I embarrass myself anymore. But now, as an example, just to let people see, yeah, motion blur was off, okay. And we'll switch everything off again. Everything is off. Apply to state. And now you can see it with everything cranked up to ultra settings, and you can see the shadows in the post. The difference between very high, which is the only time that shadows start appearing with the posts, and ultra is in very high, the shadows have got very, very sharp edges. While with ultra, they're sort of very fuzzy, as you can tell. Especially if you take a look at the bottom posts, you can really tell with the shadows just how fuzzy they are, and that really does look a little bit more realistic. I don't know exactly what technique that they're doing to generate shadows with tables. The right hand side is actually the shadows is actually quite off of that, isn't it? Yeah, it is. The shadow should be a little bit more towards the right hand side. But oh well, you know, I guess you could say I'm just being nitpicky. So anyway, I must have switched the FPS settings off. Oh, that's interesting. It saved that at least. Let's try that again. It's hard to be so organized and to remember everything, especially when you're doing videos, which I haven't really done a lot of, and you're just trying to concentrate on one thing and you forget all about the other things. So here we go. Full ultras, and look at the FPS, and as you can see, there isn't really that heck of a lot of difference. So let's add a credit in. That would be pressing 5. Let me press 5 once more. See, pressing 5. If you look at the top corner, you see the credits are increasing. And then when you want to play, just press T. And we just wait for the ball to come. Oh yeah, we have the epileptic flipper. Okay, look at the left flipper. Now look at the right. You notice something. It seems to be going ahead of its angle that is set and then dropping back down again. It's just kind of annoying actually, isn't it? Okay, but we'll play this. This is on the same angle I played before, and as you can see, I'm getting maybe 2 or 3 frames per second. Oh, for Christ's sakes, I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna save this game. I'm gonna make some changes to it and get it to play better. You know, it's not good. It plays like a ballet game, and to be honest, ballet games just when it comes to the board draining, oh man, I hated ballet games for that. They just drain so badly, and this one does exactly the same thing actually. Whoa, okay, hello. I do have to say I've seen that happen in actual arcade games. So you've got arcade quality physics. Right, there you go. Yeah, you can see that there's a little bit of slowdown, just ever so slightly. Yeah, oh, nope. Okay, there we go. But anyway, you got the general idea. So now you know about the settings. I should warn people not to use the anti-aliasing feature. Do not set your anti-aliasing feature too high. Even if you do use it, do not go higher than high. There is a very high, there is also an ultra, but it causes light bulbs to flicker. So and that could cause epileptic seizures. I'm not too sure really about that, but that's one of the things that can cause it. So just leave it on low, and again, this is something I've talked about with the developers in a message, and I'm pretty sure that they will definitely be looking at that, because they don't, you know, that's not something we want, period. Anyway, with the rest of it, yeah, I'm just going to put it to the settings that I like, which the shadow qualities, and I can handle that. Everything else is high. Anti-alias is as low as I can set it, and motion blur is completely off. The frame rate cap I'm probably going to adjust, but at the moment I have my laptop with me and it's got a 300 megahertz screen attached to it, so I might as well just put it at 244. Playing the game, I got maybe 65 frames per second with everything on low instead of 60. So as I said before, there will be some stuff fixed over time. Anyway, let's show you April. And as you can see, I did spend at least a little bit of time in fixing things. And there were a couple things that I said in the last video, and I just sort of want to update you. And one of the most important things is look at that wall now. It is so nice and curved. And in case you were wondering, I had asked in the video how many objects do you think that it took, the first version, and I will now tell you it was 6. And I suddenly realized, after really thinking about it, that it doesn't need to be absolutely perfect. I can actually hide a couple of things underneath a plastic, for one thing, and that kind of made it really, really easy. And the other thing is that because I was trying to be too perfect with it, it actually did nothing but cause me problems. If you have a very good look at this, let's put this on the view, and as you can see from the angles, you do see the seams here, but only if I really, really point it out would you actually ever notice it. The other thing is the little trick that I came up with, and I decided that instead of me trying to make this perfect, let's just work within the program itself and work on what the program was capable, and lo and behold, it came out okay, didn't it? I can tell you can see where one of the seams is, and I will show you where the other object is, but this was actually made in 3 objects. And I don't think I was going to be able to do it in 2, and I sort of cheated on the 3rd object to form this loop. As you can just see right by the red guidepost, it doesn't really curve even at that length. In fact, it kind of went a little wonky on me, so I just literally just did a straight area. But everything else came out really, really well, so I'm very, very happy with that. The other thing is, I had noticed the left-hand side with the target bank, and how it just comes out as absolutely brown with a line in it, and that would be because I have this set on very high for the shadows, and that's actually a shadow that is doing that. So just to make things clear, the 3rd thing is, for some strange reason, my rail came back, and apparently it's moved again. Okay, but I had completely removed that, and I was going to add a new replacement to it the next day, but when I loaded it up, lo and behold, it appeared. And not only that, it appeared in roughly the shape that I actually had it. The only problem is it doesn't really like to save in the position that I put it in, because that thing has definitely dropped again. I did spend a bit today getting that working, getting that playing a little bit better, and apparently I must have forgotten to save it again, because it's not doing it. Okay, well, and yet when I was testing it, it did. Never mind. Anyway, this is what it is. The other thing here, let's load this in. I had actually done a video just previous to this one, and it was about cabinets, and there were a couple things I did notice in terms of bugs with this, and one, and most importantly, sometimes the texture in the edit mode just doesn't load in. It happened about once or twice, and that I just had a blank screen, a blank texture, basically the default. So that kind of surprised me a little bit. The other thing I noticed is the overhead mode, and as you can tell, I actually used the overhead mode to do the big loop here. And oh, what a big difference that was. It took me less than 10 minutes. Originally it took me a lot longer, and because of the distortion, I just couldn't really adapt to the distortion of doing stuff in true 3D mode. And you know what? It's not moving again. Oh, for crying out loud. I thought they had fixed that. But guess what? My controls are locked. So I'm just going to tab out. And tab back in. And now it works. Okay. Yeah, sorry developers. It's not fixed. Okay. Anyway, it was very hard to line up objects perfectly, and if you have to do some very, very fine detail, you really kind of needed that. The original loop was pretty bad. It was wrong, and that was because it's very hard, especially with objects that are higher than the playfield. It's very hard to place them. So the overhead mode is really, really good. I would really, really, really like the ability to be able to move left or right, and or even to be able to flip the screen, moving the camera so that I can work, so I can see what's going on behind this thing. But that's really all I want. But other than that, and you know what? There's also one more bug. I just went into overhead mode. I just came out and I've lost my controls again. I can't move. I can't move the cursor. I can't move the screen. I can't see the view. So fine, okay. Tab. Wait for it to load in. Tab back out again. There you go. Anyway, yeah, it's a work in progress. Okay, guys, it's as simple as that. I'm going to just show you how many objects. And as you can see, this is the third wall and this is straight. If you try to bend it, it's just not going to happen. The second I managed to do pretty well, and the third, actually, you can just barely see it. It's right there, and then it goes all the way down. I should mention this to people who want to build their own games. One of the most important things you have to remember with games like this is that you want a smooth ball movement around this loop. If for instance I had this section here that's sticking out, and I actually had it even sticking out even the slightest, like even a pixel beyond on this side, the ball's going to hit it, and it will and the ball will more than likely just bounce right back or take a really, really weird bounce. And it's the same on this side. If you look very, very carefully, I'll zoom in for it so that you can see it. You can just see it now, but let's zoom in. You can just see where the first wall is, the end of the first wall, and where the second wall starts, right? So I put that on this side where the ball is not going to affect the ball movement. So it's very, very important that you make sure that you do that, or else you're going to have the ball constantly hitting invisible objects, really, because you actually don't really see that in the game itself when you're actually playing the game. As to the shape of it, well, you know what, it's the best I can do. It's certainly a hell of a lot better than the first version, and it's to the point that even somebody as fussy as me is, well, I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm gonna end this video, but I'll let you know what I'm probably going to do for the next one, at least with the 8-ball series, and that is to go into logic mode, and I'm going to finish doing basic things like this, like the switches and stuff. I'm going to do basically logic controllers for basic logic for all of the basic parts of this machine. For instance, the triggers here, the buttons, everything will have its own logic controller, and it'll just be set to very basic scoring. I did say that I'm waiting for a couple an update to the logic mode, which will give me some more capabilities. But I might as well get this all straightened up. If that update takes some time, I can always just do a second table and build a second table. So, but next video I will be showing everything will be set up, and everything will be at least giving some points when the ball goes over it, and then we'll build from there. We might do something like the kickback here. This is absolutely screaming for a kickback, and as I said before, it is a bally game, and ballies are notorious for how they drain. And I mean, look at the area for the ball to escape from here to here. I mean, that's just freaking massive. That's about 4 or 5 ball rips at least. So, you know, honestly, I learned most of my swear words by playing bally pinball machines. If you think this is bad, try playing a game like Playboy. The drain lanes are so wide on that thing that you could drive a semi-trailer through it. So we're going to be discussing some things on how to, especially if you're doing a bally type game, some things that can really help to prevent the ball from draining constantly. One of them would be like putting a couple of extra objects in there that are normally not in the actual machine, because or else you're just going to get, if you want an accurate translation, you're going to get a lot of people that are just going to complain about how hard that your game is too hard, it drains way too much. That's basically the bally standard. But in the meanwhile, I hope you've had a great day, and happy pinball. Bye now.